Jacques and Matilda, I think of the Ribs, I think of the Rougeau brothers, fights, the
What was you brought the fight? What was that feeling backstage when that fight broke out between Jacques Rougeau and Dynamite Kid? Because obviously that is one of the most famous wrestling stories ever told. And so, what are you being told about that situation? Because that was crazy.
I was right there. Well, I didn't see Jacques hit Dynamite, but Runzi walked right up because there's a place you get coffee, and Dynamite loved to drink coffee. He would drink so much coffee. And so there's a place to get coffee and fruit and stuff. So he went to get coffee, and out of nowhere, Jacques had a roll of quarters and just sucker punched Dynamite right in the face. And Brunzy comes up to me and he said, Brian, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. Jock just sucker punched Dynamite, man. His face is all bloody and everything. I said, what? And I start to go over there. And here comes Dynamite. We kind of meet halfway, and he's got coffee in he's stirring some coffee. And he's got some blood on his face. I guess this must be like, 2-3 minutes after it happened. And apparently he cleaned up a little bit. And, he's got a couple teeth missing. And he goes, motherfucker, son of a gun, sucker punched me. But that's not what it's. MF sucker punched me. And I can't believe it. I said, he did what? Where is he? And, Jimmy and I Jimmy don't like to fight or anything. I never minded fighting. And, I was just really hot right then. And I liked Jock and Raymond. I knew that these guys had pushed him. The Bulldogs had ribbed him a little bit too much. And the Rougeaus didn't like to be ribbing, but I don't like to see one of my close friends sucker punched like that either. And I was steaming, and, I got there and they were gone. And, it was, there's quarters all over laying all over the floor, and everything's turned upside down. And, it was not pretty. It was really, because, Dynamite's, he always wanted to be, he was a tough guy, a very tough guy. And, in a fair fight, Dynamite would have ate Jock up, would have ate his lunch, at 200 pounds and Dynamite and Jock 240 at the time, it wouldn't even have been a fair fight. Dynamite would have just kicked his butt. But, you sucker punch somebody with a roll of quarters. Not a lot you can do.
Right. It's funny you not funny, but you mentioned it, and Dynamite Kid would beat Jacques, according to many people, in a real fight. But then the story narrative after this backstage brawl is the story, the narrative is like Dynamite was the same person after that. He changed. He no longer was this tough guy. But yet you're telling me he's stirring coffee like a few minutes after the sucker punch. And yet the narrative for years has been, oh, he suddenly was like a wounded animal. Like, what? Where do you think that narrative comes from? Because if you're telling me he's drinking coffee immediately after this thing, like, where did the story of just a wrestler tells another wrestler, tells another wrestler, and the story gets larger and larger?
Well, yeah, I mean, people that weren't there, and weren't really around them, they hear stuff, and obviously it grows, what is it? Telegraph, telephone, tele-wrestler.
Yes.
And I do agree with the concept that Dynamite wasn't quite as aggressive after that, and maybe toned down a little bit. He certainly stopped the ribbing with the Rougeaus. I know that I guess Vince had to get them together, and somehow life carried on. And I don't know, who, how it was, how they made up, or I don't think they ever made up, but how they actually got along, Steve. But we still had harmony in the dressing rooms, and that happened. I remember one time Larry Booker who was, he was carried the bone with the two blonde hillbilly guys with the bone, the tag team. Trying to think right now, but
The Moondogs?
Moondogs. Thank you. And we were in Shreveport, Louisiana, and Larry Booker came up to me, walked right up. I was sitting talking to Killer Carl Cox and Dick Murdoch at the Best Western Hotel in Shreveport. And Larry Booker goes, "I heard you were a shooter." And I said, "Yeah, I don't know. I can wrestle a little bit." He goes, "Well, I just want to tell you something." He goes, "Nobody can outshoot the book." And I said, "Well, that's good. I'll be sure not to mess with you, Larry." And he just kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on until finally he spit on me. And when he did, he should have never done that. I mean, I beat him like a pulp, just like I'm a humble guy. I don't know. So the next day I told Bill Watts, well, he had already heard about it. And I said, "Bill, how am I ever going to how am I going to, you've got me booked against Larry Booker, Larry Latham at the time. And in Shreveport, of all places. Again, this was a week later. And I said, we're no wide up shooting. I said, I'm not, I'm going to have my guard up. And if he even looks like he's going to do something to me, I'm not taking the first blow. I just want you to know that." And Bill smiled at me and he looked and he goes, "Beaver," he said, "how in the world can a shoot hurt the business?" And I thought about it and I said, "I guess it can't." He goes, "Well, if he messes with you, kick his ass." I said, "Okay." So he was very, 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 very kind, came up to me before the match and absolutely assured me that he was wrong and, please trust him. And so we went out and we actually had a good match.